Most people make the worst financial decisions when fear takes over. And in a recession, fear is everywhere. But what if you could see the storm coming and actually use it to your advantage? Ray Dalio, the billionaire founder of Bridgewater Associates, has spent over 50 years studying economic cycles. He's predicted more than one financial crisis with pinpoint accuracy. And he says that most people lose money in recessions not because of the economy, but because of these three mistakes. Mistakes that seem logical in the moment, but can quietly destroy your wealth. So ask yourself this: are you accidentally making any of them right now? In this video, I'm going to break down each of the three things Dalio says you should never do during a recession, and more importantly, what to do instead. Whether you're worried about inflation, losing your job, or watching your investments crumble, this information could be the edge that protects everything you've worked for. But remember that this is not investment advice. It is only a video for educational purposes. But before we dive into these three deadly mistakes, I want to hear from you. What's the scariest financial decision you've ever made during a downturn? Drop it in the comments, and let's learn from each other's experience. Mistake 1. Going liquid in uncertain times. Many people rush to liquidate their investments. They sell off stocks, pull money out of funds, and hoard cash just in case. On the surface, it sounds smart, cash feels safe. But according to Ray Dalio, this knee-jerk reaction is often one of the worst moves you can make during a recession. Why? Because recessions aren't just about loss. They're also about opportunity. When you go fully liquid, you remove yourself from the playing field. And while you're sitting in fear on the sidelines, others are buying valuable assets at massive discounts. Dalio argues that holding cash is not the same as being safe, especially when inflation is silently draining its value. In his words, cash is trash, particularly when the government is printing money and the value of the dollar is steadily falling. If inflation is at 3 to 5% and your cash earns less than 1%, you're losing money every single day. It's a silent tax on your wealth. Instead of panicking, Dalio advises strategic rebalancing. That means holding a mix of assets that are more resilient in downturns, like treasury bonds, inflation-linked securities, or even certain commodities. It's about staying in the game, not fleeing from it. It's also about timing. When markets fall, emotions spike. That's the worst time to make decisions. Dalio believes in building an all-weather portfolio designed to perform across economic environments, especially recessions. This approach requires patience and discipline, but it's how you ride out volatility without wiping out your future. A recent example: in the 2020 COVID crash, many who stayed invested recovered their losses within months and even made gains. But those who went to cash missed the bounce and waited far too long to get back in. The takeaway: going liquid might feel like control, but in reality, it could cost you more than you think. Mistake 2. Ignoring debt strategy during a recession. Your relationship with debt can either protect you or sink you. And ignoring it altogether is a costly mistake Ray Dalio warns against repeatedly. Most people look at debt in black and white. All debt is bad. But Dalio distinguishes between good debt and bad debt, especially in tough economic times. Bad debt is high interest, short-term, and unproductive. It drains your cash flow and adds stress. Good debt, on the other hand, is low interest, long-term, and tied to income-producing assets or future growth. So why is this distinction so critical during a recession? Because cash flow becomes king. If your income drops or disappears, those monthly debt payments don't stop. Dalio emphasizes the importance of analyzing your liabilities just as much as your assets. Refinance where possible. Consolidate high-interest debts. And above all, don't take on new consumer debt for depreciating things. Take 2008. Millions of people were leveraged to the max with mortgages and credit cards. When layoffs hit and property values dropped, they were left with homes they couldn't afford and no exit strategy. That's how recessions turn into personal financial disasters. Today, the stakes are similar. Interest rates remain elevated, inflation is sticky, and consumer debt has reached all-time highs. The average American carries over $7,000 in credit card debt, with APRs nearing 25%. That's financial quicksand. And yet, many people still underestimate the impact of just one mismanaged debt during a downturn. A single missed payment can tank your credit score, raise interest rates, and make future borrowing even more expensive. It becomes a domino effect that's hard to stop. Dalio's advice is simple but powerful. Restructure now, not later. Use this time to simplify your obligations, build a buffer, and eliminate financial landmines before the pressure mounts. Lock in fixed interest rates where possible. Avoid variable rate loans that can spike overnight. And always ask, is this debt helping me build, or is it slowly burying me? Because in a recession, survival is about control, and you can't control what you ignore. Your debt strategy isn't just about paying bills. It's about protecting your financial breathing room when the economy tightens. Mistake 3. Following the herd. Fear spreads fast. And when the economy starts crumbling, the average person looks around and does what everyone else is doing. But according to Dalio, following the herd is a guaranteed way to lock in losses and miss the upside. Recessions create chaos. And in chaos, the media feeds on panic, social media amplifies it, and most people react emotionally instead of rationally. They sell low, hoard cash, delay important decisions, and move in sync with the crowd because doing what others do feels safe. But safe isn't always smart. Dalio built his legacy by doing the opposite. He believes the best opportunities often lie where fear is the loudest. His principle: be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. That's not just a quote. It's a strategy built on decades of real data and outcomes. In every economic downturn, there are investors who walk away richer. Why? Because they made decisions based on analysis, not anxiety. They saw fear as a signal, not a stop sign. During the COVID crash in early 2020, markets dropped sharply. Panic was everywhere. But Dalio and Bridgewater Associates used the chaos to rebalance, acquire undervalued assets, and prepare for the inevitable recovery. Those who followed the panic sold at a loss. Those who followed principles, they profited. Following the herd also means consuming the same headlines, echoing the same fears, and making reactive choices instead of intentional ones. Dalio stresses the importance of having your own framework, your own economic GPS, to interpret events. Without it, you're flying blind. The crowd tends to overshoot in both directions, overconfidence in booms, overpessimism in busts. That volatility creates opportunity for independent thinkers. And recessions are when long-term wealth often gets seeded. Dalio's core message is simple: think for yourself. Have principles. Don't outsource your thinking to the crowd, especially not when it's screaming. Stick to data, history, and logic. If you want to thrive in a recession, you have to do more than just survive. You have to break away from the herd and start thinking like an investor, not a follower. It's uncomfortable, but it's how real wealth is built. You've just learned the 3 mistakes Dalio says you should never make during a recession: going liquid, ignoring your debt strategy, and following the herd. Each of these decisions may feel right in the moment, but they're usually driven by fear, not strategy. And as Dalio has shown time and again, fear is the enemy of financial success. The key takeaway: recessions aren't just periods to survive, they're chances to build. But only if you stay calm, think independently, and act with clarity. Avoid these 3 mistakes, and you put yourself in a position not just to endure economic storms, but to come out stronger on the other side. Because the truth is, the actions you take during a recession define your financial future far more than the ones you take in a boom. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 mistakes have you seen others make, or maybe even made yourself? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one because these shared experiences help us all grow. If this video gave you value, help it reach others by hitting the like button, subscribing for more insights like these, and sharing it with someone who needs to protect their finances in uncertain times. Your future self will thank you.